You're listening to the Gab Street Podcast, Columbus, Ohio's #1 podcast for underground talent. Every week we have new conversations with interesting individuals who contribute to the Columbus economy and its lively culture. You may find just what you're looking for right in your backyard. Let's get right into it. Hello, everybody. It's another edition of Quarantainment from the Gab Street Podcast. Today is episode 62. You just heard a solid yeah from my co-host, Zay Crypto. Say how you doing, my friend.
Yeah, how you doing, guys? I'm doing okay. I'm trying not to lose my mind.
I'm currently drinking coffee at 5 p.m. That's not a habit to get into, but, you know, I'm working on things. It's okay. I got something I got to bring up real quick at the beginning here. We are now syndicated on Redline Radio LLC out of Cleveland. And this is the second syndication of the Gab Street Podcast. Go ahead and check out their radio station. It's online, and they also have a mobile app on the App Store. You can just find it by searching Redline Radio LLC, and you'll be able to listen from anywhere. We are airing at 11 a.m. every Saturday. So you can go ahead and check that out. Hear new episodes every week. We have a guest today. Believe it or not. It's what we usually do. We do interviews around here. His name is Blaine. Say hello.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm holding up, man. I'm talking to an author right now, and we haven't done that before. That's actually pretty cool. You are officially the first author we have interviewed on this program. And I am excited to hear your experience as an author in Columbus.
Well, I'll try not to disappoint. I recently, actually not recently, I've moved here about 10 years ago, I suppose, and I recently started writing. I've not been an author historically. I've not written things like that, but this is the first book that I've actually sat down and decided to publish and put it out there for everybody to take a look at. But I haven't really met anybody in Columbus as far as authors and stuff go, but I look forward to it. This whole coronavirus thing has kind of been a damper on my plans to go around to libraries and different things like that to spread the word and get people interested in some of the things. My books are geared towards, they're children's stories, but they're geared towards more mature kids or their parents. So they're not really intended for impressionable young children. So I was going to go around to like story hours and readings and things like that. But,
and from the title of the stories, that's pretty apparent. It's called Wildly Inappropriate Stories for Children. I wanted to ask you what the impetus for titling that was.
Yeah, so this is a whole story series. So the first story is Vlad and the Vast Beach. All of these stories are about things that you do not want your kids to do. So Vlad and the Vast Beach is about a young boy that his mom takes him to the beach, and he wanders off and has a little adventure on his own. So that's one thing I was kind of paranoid about when I was raising my daughter was, I didn't want anybody to steal her or anything like that. And I always make her hold my hand when we're in the grocery store and all that kind of thing. As a matter of fact, she was probably like, I don't know, 10 or 12 or something like that. And she's like, "Dad, do I have to hold your hand?" And I was like, "Yes, somebody will steal you." She goes, "Dad, I'm 5'8". Nobody's going to steal me. So, she was big for her age, but I seriously, all parents worry about stuff like that. They don't want somebody to snatch their child up or something like that. And it's kind of a secret fear that all parents have, that their kid's going to wander off and they're not going to be able to find them. And everybody's probably been in that situation themselves that are parents, or as children, I'm sure at one point or another, we've wandered off from our parents and gotten ourselves lost a little bit.
Yeah, I did that a couple times to my mom when I was a kid.
Yeah, I remember vividly when I did it.
Your parents probably freaked out.
Yeah.
That's understandable.
They were very angry.
Yeah, so this is the whole story is about Vlad has a little bit of an adventure, goes off, gets a little bit distracted, makes some unsavory friends, and learns 3 valuable lessons. at the end of the story. I try to have all of my stories end in some type of lesson. It could be kind of humorous or it could be serious, but yeah, they're just some lessons that kids could learn from, or some little bit of sarcasm.
Now, do you have any stories planned that are geared around smoking marijuana?
I do not. That could be in the works. You never know. I have stories based on lots of different things. My next story coming out is called Sticky Fingers from Jam.
Okay.
I think that every child has at one point gotten up before their parents and decided to make themselves breakfast. And they usually don't make the best choices as far as that's concerned. I've got a friend that decided that they wanted to eat icing for breakfast. And their parents like, no, you can't eat icing for breakfast. That's just something that's just not done. Why? I don't know. I mean, icing seems high calorie and lots of good benefits from eating icing, right? I mean, it can't be all that bad. But anyway, your parents would never let you do anything like that. But of course, if you wake up early, they're not there to say no, right? So in this case, the little person decides that he's going to eat jam for breakfast, and he does, and spreads it around the house. Yeah.
Nice. Hey, listeners, you're not a real pedestrian if you weren't 5 years old and got up in the middle of the night and had a nice spoonful of spread butter. So yeah, I just putting that out there. That isn't something I've done or anything. I don't know why you would think that. But
well, I've got a really good story. The inspiration for the Sticky Fingers from Jam, in part, was I grew up in West Virginia, in rural West Virginia, and I was probably 9 years old, 10 years old, something like that. And I would get up early in the morning, about 6 o'clock in the morning, and go out to do my chores. And I'd have to walk to a barn that's maybe about a quarter mile behind the house. And in order to get there, I'd have to pass my uncle's house. So my cousin at the time was about 2 years old, and he came out of the cornfield that was by our house that you had to walk past, and he was not wearing any clothes, and he was covered in sugar from head to toe. I'm not kidding. He was coated with sugar. And he starts telling me about how proud he was that he had made himself breakfast. Now, at that time, if you're like 9 years old, you don't really think anything about that. I didn't at the time. But in hindsight, I would have loved to see his kitchen and how upset his parents were, because if you had that much sugar on you, your kitchen has got to be a mess, right? And,
Yeah.
And probably other parts of the house too. So that was the inspiration in part for that story.
And how else has having grown up in rural West Virginia informed by your writing?
I think it's, I don't know. West Virginians are kind of a different breed of people.
Yeah. Tell me about that.
I can remember. Well, I don't speak like most West Virginians, except when I go back home. I lose my accent when I'm not around it, and I quickly pick it back up when I go back home. And that's a conscious thing. I can remember I was probably 10 years old or something like that, and realizing that people looked down on me because of the way I spoke. So I consciously, about that age, decided that I wasn't going to have the, drawing out my vowels and the twang and all that kind of thing. I was going to speak, like somebody that's in the regular Midwestern states or something like that. So that's how I have the accent that I have today. But if I go back home and I'm around people that draw out their vowels and they talk like they is and all that kind of thing, I pick it up pretty easily. And I think that's a big influence. That the way you think about the world is different there. Most people have a lot of rural and agricultural and wildlife ideas. They are very non-urban, for the most part, and I think that's a very big influence on a lot of the stories that I have. Now, that said, I've lived in San Jose, California, and of course I've lived for 10 years in Columbus. So I visit New York City a lot too, and I've been in major cities around Europe quite a bit.
But you don't visit New York anymore for now, right?
Well, I haven't in quite some time, and I'm certainly not going to do it until after Corona thing's over. But it's a great city. I don't like it, and I would not like to live there. It's good to visit, and leave, right? But it does influence. It had a big influence on Vlad and the Fast Beach, my first story. I don't know if you guys know it or not, but the Brighton Beach area in Brooklyn, New York, is like little Moscow. So it's like Chinatown for Russians.
Oh, I did not know that.
All of the Russians are there. I mean, everybody speaks Russian. All of the signs are in Russian. All the restaurants are in Russian. All the stores are in Russian. Everything is Russian. So Brighton Beach is an actual beach. It's right on the water, and that was the inspiration for Vlad and the Bass Beach. Is I go there and I go to the restaurants. I speak Russian too, so as well as my wife and a lot of my friends, and I'll go there and we'll have dinner in the evenings, and we'd walk along the boardwalk to Coney Island. And, it's just kind of a nice, relaxing kind of thing. It's like the city's not surrounding you at that point. You have the beach like on your entire left side as you're walking towards Coney Island, and it's kind of open and free, and you can breathe a little bit. It has some fresh air coming off the ocean, and it's a really good feeling. Particularly after you've been around in the city all day, I kind of get the claustrophobic feeling when I'm in larger cities. Even in Columbus, Columbus is not as bad as most cities as far as that's concerned. It is a little more laid back and a little more spread out. But I really, even in Columbus, I get this kind of claustrophobic feeling because all the houses are on top of each other. The buildings are tall, and it just kind of feels closed in, particularly downtown.
I can vouch for that. I'm currently in a 4-story apartment, so.
Yeah, it's just
Aaron,
like
you've been there.
Yep.
This is normally where we record the episodes, but now we're doing it remotely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel that.
How long have you been speaking Russian?
I started. I don't really consider myself like fluent or anything, but I do okay. I can understand most of what's going on, and I'd say I'm at an intermediate level. I've been doing it for about 10 years or so.
Could you say like Gab Street is the best in Russian?
I don't know about that. I'd have to look at and.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite Russian phrases?
My favorite, I can remember early on when I was learning it, my favorite Russian word is четыре. It's the number 4. So, as you, один, два, три, четыре. And I was like, четыре, that just kind of like rolls off the tongue. It's a really cool word.
I've always loved the sound of the Russian language, personally.
It is really cool, and the Russian people are awesome. I really enjoy the Russian people. The Russian language, it's a struggle still, frankly. I mean, my wife speaks much better than I do, and she says that you're not fluent until you are able to speak with a native for 30 minutes without saying "huh," which I've not been able to do. So she's actually really good. She can translate well, and she speaks with natives quite easily.
So what led to you the beginning of learning Russian for you?
Yeah, so that's interesting. I didn't realize till later on in life that what it was like in the Soviet Union. And I've talked to a lot of my friends are from the Soviet Union originally, and have immigrated to the United States or defected, one or the other. So I didn't understand what that was like. And I mean, as Americans, we take our freedoms and freedom of the press and freedom of speech and all that kind of thing so for granted that it was hard for me to imagine growing up in a society where everything was controlled. They told you what they wanted you to know at the time. And one of my friends was telling me recently about how they controlled the media. Like back in the late 70s, I don't know if you guys are old enough for this or not, but there was a gas crisis, oil crisis. There was an embargo in Saudi Arabia and Iran and several other countries, which caused the price of gas to spike, and you couldn't even buy gas.
Was Saudi Arabia involved? Was it the OPEC?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
I know what you're talking about.
Big deal. It was a big deal. I think it even went to the point where you couldn't buy gas except on alternating days, depending on if you're an even number or an odd number on your license plate.
Yep.
So it was a big deal. But I just thought that it was interesting the way the Soviet government played that was they'd say, hey, here's a copy of the New York Times. Look at all these people that are out of work. There was a high unemployment at the time. Hey, look how much they're paying for gas. Look how they can't even buy gas. Here you have your home paid for. Here in the Soviet Union, you have a job for life. And here in the Soviet Union, you're guaranteed retirement, and you're guaranteed all these things, and you're never going hungry. Look at this America that this is the propaganda that they're being fed. It's obviously propaganda, and it's kind of one-sided, but the way they fed it to those people that were in the Soviet Union made it like they didn't want to be there, and made them proud to be Soviets because they had that security. And in 1989, that security was like somebody jerked the rug out from under them. Everything that they ever believed in, everything that they ever knew, thought, was questioned. It was. I mean, I can't imagine the shock. I mean, with this coronavirus, people being out of work and people having the inconveniences that we have, not able to go to restaurants and stuff like that, pales in comparison to people in the Soviet Union, what they suffered in 1989. It was a huge, huge shock. So before that time, it was an atheistic country as well. So another one of our friends was talking about when they were in school, they would have like thousands of students at the school, and they would literally have assemblies where they'd chant "Niet Boga, Niet Boga, Niet Boga." It means there is no God, there is no God, there is no God. They drilled that into the psyche of students at a young age. So most people that were in the Soviet Union after they fell apart, they were raised like that, and that was the reason that I started learning the Russian language, is to talk to individuals and to help people out with their problems that they have, people that are in the Russian-speaking community. It's really kind of shocking to me that there was a society that covered half the globe that didn't believe in God, that didn't really have a Bible, that didn't give consideration to things that we take for granted in the United States.
So, Will, from that experience of talking to people who were impacted by that event in the Soviet Union, I'm very curious as to what you've learned about that civilization through that interaction.
I think that individuals, I think everybody from the former Soviet Union is super nice. Even people that did not live under the Soviet Union, I think that they're very kind people, and I love the culture, and the food is good. I really do enjoy it. It's taught me a different perspective, and not to take things for granted that I have here. I look around, and particularly now with the situation that we're in with the coronavirus and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
We take for granted in the United States that we have things, that we are a society of convenience. We're a disposable society. We just go out and buy something new. We take a lot of things for granted, and I don't think we should. I think
this virus is going to be a wake up call to a lot of people.
Well, even their government. I don't want to speak bad about the government or anything like that, and I appreciate being an American and all that thing. But frankly, government in our society is a house of cards.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a big deal. The coronavirus. It's not. There's many things that are much worse than a disease, and this is basically a flu. Which it's bad. I don't get me wrong, but there are much worse things that can happen, and this thing has taken the rug out from under a lot of people. I'm doing fine as far as my employment and stuff goes. I'm going to be laid off for what looks like about a month or so, which I have prepared for that, and I'm set fine. But I look at how many people aren't. I can't imagine not having a savings, not having a go bag or something, a supply of toilet paper, for instance, or water. You go to the grocery store, and even today, you still can't get toilet paper. I'm just looking at the common average person. You can't get a lot of the things. If you can't get water, you can't get toilet paper. I mean, this is a minor thing. What's going to happen if something major happens? And that's what it's taught me.
Yes,
is not to take these things for granted, because these people, that's what they did. They trusted in their government, and the government let them down. And it's the United States is a government just like that of the Soviet Union, and it's still a government, and it's only as good as the people that are in it. And many people are greedy, and many people are, particularly politicians, are looking out for themselves and not necessarily looking out for people. And that's been the way it's been for many years. And I think that it's only going to get worse.
Yeah. This is the first time in my life I've ever seen the society fall apart so quickly. And it makes me wonder what the future holds for us. I mean, you got to stay hopeful, but you also, I'm glad that I got to see this, because I don't know. I think moving forward, I think for a lot of people, this is going to change the way we operate to a certain degree.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be like 9/11 levels, if not more, of world-changing events,
Well, I would just kind of... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, well, I would just kind of... I don't know. I shouldn't be shocked, but I'm still kind of shocked at the way people spin this, particularly politicians, to their political ends. I kind of shake my head, because you look at the news, and you look at each political party is still blaming the other one, and taking a chance to take a cheap shot at their political opponent. I'm looking at this in disbelief that these people are elected to do what? I mean, they're supposed to serve the people, right?
Yeah.
They're supposed to. I mean, and frankly, they can't. And at the end of the day, the government can't ensure that you have food. They can't ensure that you're going to be healthy. They can't. And if it doesn't do those basic things, what good is it? I mean, I'm not advocating uprising or anything like that, but there's got to be something better, right?
I think Zay would.
Honestly, yeah.
Zay would definitely advocate for an uprising.
Not now, but if things got worse, maybe.
Anarchy's not the answer, obviously. It's just...
Yeah, no. But there is a certain level that we as a people just should not tolerate things like...
And that's even a Lockean idea, if the government does
I'm not... I really don't deserve to have an opinion on anything like that, though, because... Yeah.
Well, we are both technically Zoomers, so...
I don't know.
I'm 19 and Zay is 21.
21. Yeah.
So we have yet to experience any other event like this, at least in our lucid years, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
our lucid years, I like that.
In what you've seen, Will, are there any similarities to this that you could point out to events that we may have heard of but have not lived and experienced?
Similarities to
the
coronavirus?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the OPEC thing back in the 70s was probably similar. I remember 9/11 was kind of like that. It was probably not as impactful as the coronavirus. It was mostly on travel and things like that. I can remember in 9/11, I watched the television. At work, we watched CNN at the time, and when the first plane hit, I thought, well, it's just got to be a drunk pilot or something like that. And the second one hit, I was like, okay, something's seriously wrong. And of course, when I left work that day, it was really, really unusual because there was no air traffic. So you always hear like the roar of a turbine in the sky, or you see the exhaust or anything from the jets as they're flying by. And there was none of that. So that was kind of eerie, just not to have that sound. And it was kind of nice, really. I mean, just to have the quiet. But that was a big impact.
Can you imagine if it was actually just a drunk pilot?
Dude,
Well,
That would be insane.
I don't know. When it first happens, you just kind of like you're not thinking terrorist attack.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it was unprecedented. So
Right. So I was kind of floored that it was a terrorist attack, and then of course, it was the same back then as it is now. Everybody used that to their political ends, though I think they were a little more united than they are today, as far as the government is concerned.
Now, if it were a drunk pilot, would it then be an inside job?
There's lots of conspiracy theories. I don't know. There's still people that don't believe that there was a moon landing or stuff like that. But I don't know. I would say that most pilots are much more responsible than that. You would hope, and they generally have a pilot and a co-pilot. So,
well, do you subscribe to the belief of Donut Earth?
Donut.
I'm just kidding. I'm not going to go there.
we're not. It's not flat Earth. It's not a globe Earth. It's a donut. Come on, guys.
Just making fun of flat earthers. That's what we do around here.
Oh, right. Okay.
I never got to do my hot take.
Yes, I would like to hear that.
Today, as of today, it's April Fool's. This won't be April Fool's when it comes out. But my hot take is we really shouldn't celebrate April Fool's this year, just because we've already had too many surprises.
Yep, I agree with that.
What's also my parents' anniversary. So they've been married for probably 50. I can't remember the exact. It's 50-some years now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Shout out to your parents.
Well, I thought it was kind of funny that they decided to get married on April 1st.
That is pretty funny.
No annulment there, huh?
Right.
That's funny. Yeah, I'm just waiting for all of the April Fool's jokes that are like, coronavirus is over, you can do things now, and then people actually go do things, and then it becomes way worse. That's what I'm really afraid of right now.
I haven't heard too many April Fool's jokes to this day.
Yeah,
honestly,
I haven't paid attention enough to hear them.
Quiet, actually. Maybe everybody's isolated. They decided to call it off.
Yeah. The one thing I've heard of is that the game Overwatch has googly eyes on all the characters right now.
Oh, really?
But that's the extent of it. So,
yeah.
I don't know. But to change the subject, unless, Zay, you had anything else to bring up on that?
No.
Okay. I wanted to ask more about your writing a little bit. This is something I'm very curious about. And this is a side of Columbus that I don't really... I haven't been in tune with, and I was hoping you'd be able to provide some insight on how Columbus being here either helps or hurts being an author, based on your experience.
I think Columbus is a good place to live. I mean, it's a big city, but it's not like a lot of large cities. I think that's the advantage of having Columbus as a home. I really have not gotten into the author scene as far as meeting a lot of other authors or anything like that, because I just recently released my book, but I plan to. I have been to lots of called like story slams, or where people do their readings or talk about their books or tell stories or stuff like that. I've been meaning to get into that, but I just haven't had the opportunity yet. I just released the book at the end of January, and of course this coronavirus thing has been going on in the mix, so I haven't had the opportunity, but that'll be coming up, and I look forward to meeting other authors and meeting up with other type of illustrators and different people that are involved in book publication.
And what is your promotional plan for when coronavirus is over?
Well, I'm going to continue to do podcasts. I've done quite a few podcasts already. I've got my book on Amazon right now.
Nice.
I'd like to go around to events like at libraries. They have little story times and stuff like that, and read some stories. Not all of my stories are like terribly inappropriate. So that, I think that they'd be okay with some groups of children. Some of them, on the other hand, are very inappropriate for children. So you certainly would not be reading them to a story time group.
Well, can you give us an example? What's something you consider more on the very inappropriate side, if there's one?
So I've got I read a story a few months ago. It's called "The Brat with a Bat." So it's about a child that gets a new baseball bat and decides to go around smashing things in his house. So it's a great story, good storyline. But I was reading it to one of my friends, and he has a 5-year-old son. And within minutes of me reading the story to him, he got a stick and decided to start smashing things in his house. So I was like, probably not good for 5-year-olds, It was just, I don't want that. I mean, I don't want kids to get in trouble, and I don't want them to destroy things anyway. But they're really fun stories and good stories for a little more, have a little more self-discipline than a 5-year-old.
You know what? That's interesting. I never really thought about it, but as a children's author, I think you probably have a lot more to think about when it comes to your content.
Right.
You gotta be careful with what you're putting out there. You can't really just let the thought flow freely.
A lot of sway there.
Well, I've been very careful about how I wrote things. Like in Bite on the Bass Beach, there's a little bit of gunplay. But
okay. Oh yeah, that's right.
The way that I wrote it is, it's not specifically stated. So that's certainly, I don't want kids going around toting guns or anything like that. That's bad all the way around. But so you do have to be careful about how it's written, and it's a little more responsible, I suppose.
So Brat with a Bat could be an effective tool for chaos, I see.
Well, The Brat with a Bat is a really good story, but it's got a really good lesson at the end. I don't know. Would you guys like me to read a little bit to you?
Yeah, sure.
Why not?
Let me see here. Let me see if I can pull it up. The Brat with a Bat. This is one of the ones that has a little better of a moral at the end. It's not sarcastic or anything like that. I'll go ahead and read. If we got time, I'll go ahead and read it in its entirety. I'll give you guys a sneak peek. This isn't published or anything like that. I've already got the copyright and everything, so it's not.
Okay.
To worry about that. But
Perfect.
I'll go ahead and read it. This is The Brat with a Bat. What is this that my eyes see? Slender, metal, so shiny. I'll take a swing. No one will care. It won't hurt if they're unaware. To swing feels good from where I stood, in the middle of my living room floor. I heard the whoosh of the wind as the bat would descend and make contact with our front door. It left a dent in the door, but much like before, I continued to swing away. It was not that I planned, but the bat left my hand because my grip had gone astray. The bat flew through the room and continued to zoom because I had opened the door. When it landed, it smashed a large pot, then it crashed to a table Mom used to adore. I picked up the bat, then calmly sat to survey the damage I'd done. I looked all around and I imagined Mom's frown, but then again thought, that was fun. I tossed the bat in the air because I didn't care if I broke a thing or two. Look over there. It looks like a chair. It seems to be made of bamboo. I took a big swing, then heard the ping as the bat made contact with wood. The wood didn't move. I'll have to improve and swing harder in all likelihood. As I gave it a whack, it developed a crack, and the leg fell onto the floor. Impressed with my style, I developed a smile. It snaked wryly, much like before. What to do now? I said to myself as I stepped slowly into the yard. I swung as I walked, but then soon I balked. I saw a goat who was a diehard. The bully would butt anything that's clear-cut, so I decided to give it a try. He stood on hind legs and gave me a gaze. As I swung, I gave a war cry. I heard the sound of a ping, but then thought, poor thing, but then looked at the end of my bat. I stood there amazed that Billy was not fazed by the violence of the impact. My bat sustained damage, that much is true. Billy dented the end of my bat, but he didn't care. For sure I could swear that he enjoyed the combat. I continued on foot, I needed input to figure out what to smash next. I saw a small tree. It was right next to me. I focused my muscles and flexed. On the branches was fruit, the red glossy sort. I swung my bat hard, but I was too short. I threw my bat up, that is, up in the tree, and down came an apple, as fresh as can be. I threw the fruit up and then took a swing. The apple was smashed over everything. I was covered in sauce, and sticky to boot. I should have thought better of smashing that fruit. That didn't matter. I was okay. I was off to smash something, without delay. I didn't get far until it caught my eye, a brown paper object that wasn't that high. Should I just ignore it, or give it a whack? I walked all around it and planned my attack. Now the queen was quite vicious, and so was her brood. No one remembers when she was in a good mood. In her domain, she eagerly sat, just waiting for a youth with a metal ball bat. I struck the first blow, and with hornets in tow, the savage queen from her nest started to flow. They covered my body from head to toe. From assaulting me fiercely, the queen would not slow. I looked back at my house in my agony, and I saw my dad jump from my balcony. He ran with great velocity to come to save his progeny. I was screaming and crying as my daddy arrived. He carried his girl away from the hive. The queen was still angry. She continued the attack, putting large welts all over Dad's back. As we jumped in the creek, she brought to a halt the horde of mad insects and their vicious assault. By the time we got home, my mom had arrived. We told her about the incident with the hive. Though she felt badly for my affliction, she was still very angry with the damage I'd done. Dad spoke to Mom softly in gentle, hushed tones. Then he walked to the deck, made of old cobblestones. He started picking up pieces of smashed pottery. Then I knelt by his side, feeling camaraderie. I was stabbed to the heart, I have to confess, when I saw my daddy cleaning up my big mess. Though it hurt me a little to kneel by his side, I did it quite proudly, my sorrow implied. They taught me a lesson, the queen and her crew. Because of my daddy, I've changed my worldview. In time, Mom forgave me, and I'm glad of that. Because of them, I'm no longer a brat with a bat.
All right. Zay Crypto, please don't get any ideas. Calm yourself. Control yourself real quick.
Smash something now.
I know you're just brimming with energy right now.
That was a good story.
It was very well written. I enjoyed that.
It had a lot of complicated words to an infant,
right.
And I'm wondering if you did that on purpose to kind of introduce them to these new synonyms.
Yeah, so I wanted it not to be for impressionable kids, so that would I'm targeting children that are a little more emotionally and mentally mature.
Middle
so
shelf.
I felt a little better about using larger words, and by the time that they understood what those meant, they would be able to get the story, and I think it would be an appropriate age.
See, as you're talking after you read the story, I keep expecting everything you're saying to rhyme.
so a lot of the stories do rhyme, or at least in part of they do. Now I try to keep that theme kind of like a Dr. Seuss's kind of story. Eastman and Dr. Seuss, several other authors like that. Kind of kids' books. You probably read Green Eggs and Ham and all those classic stories when you were young, and those they were definitely an influence on my work.
And who else would also be influences on you as an author?
I don't know that I've had too many influences. I haven't really had that much contact. So
that's fair enough.
Frankly, my reading and stuff like that is like boring. I just finished up the histories. It is by Herodotus. I don't know if you guys read that or not. It's
that's some really old material, isn't it?
Yeah, you probably have to read that in college or something like that. But that's what I read for fun. I read. I like that type of.
So you're a little bit of a scholar yourself, aren't you?
Well, it's I don't know. I don't consider myself that, but I like facts, and I like nonfiction type stuff mostly.
Mhm.
So this Herodotus is writing about the Persian Empire and its relationship with several other kingdoms, and has a history of what happened way back thousands of years ago. So I just think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. I also tend to prefer nonfiction myself. So I relate to you on that. That's cool.
So I'll just say this in full disclosure. My none of my books are nonfiction. They're totally for fun reading. So that's totally not what the stuff that I'm writing is totally not what I would read myself.
Okay, I see. Gotcha. But they're at least loosely based off of your own experience.
They are. And this Rat with a Bat is another one of the experiences. I used to, as a young person, and if you have a baseball bat, you're going to hit something, right? So
yeah,
that's where that came from.
When you got a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
I was raised on a farm, and I would my sister tells the story. I had 3 younger sisters. My youngest sister would often come with me, and as I was doing chores and stuff like that. And I had you guys know what a furring strip is? It's like half of a 2x4. Okay, so I had a furring strip, and we had a bunch of chickens out there, and I was taking pieces of corn and throwing them up and hitting with the furring strip. And in the events that transpired after that, my sister was sitting on a milking stand. We had a dairy goat farm at one point. She was sitting on the milk stand, and I swung, and I spun around and hit her in the knees with the furring strip at one point. And she still teases me to the day that she says it was a 2x4, first of all, and that my words were, "Don't tell mom and dad," right? Because my parents would have killed me for smashing my sister with a furring strip in the legs. But she's a very, very tough woman, very, very tough little girl, and certainly to this day a very tough woman. She has a very high pain threshold. I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, I know what a furring strip is only because I work in a place with a lot of wood. Zay Crypto, you know what I'm talking about. I actually teach people how to throw axes for a living.
Oh, really? I tried that out up in New Hampshire just a few months ago.
Isn't it so fun?
In December, January. I used to throw axes like not like that. I threw them like for, you see the like steel timber sports.
Yeah.
So they
like Waddle.
Waddle.
Like World Axe Throwing League.
Yeah, something like that. So these were like double-bitted axes, and it was like a 22-inch in-grain log that it would be your target. So it's a little more durable, and the axes are obviously bigger.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed that. I like going and seeing the timber sports games and stuff like that. It's really, really interesting to me. But I went with my brother-in-law and two of my brother-in-laws, Depp and Portsmouth, and I really had a great time. I threw different types of axes. They had probably, I don't know, maybe a half dozen different types of axes you could throw, and yeah, I wore the wood out. It was fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm actually this summer I'm planning on tagging along to some tournaments with a team here called Valyrian Steel. I've actually interviewed them before. They're coming back in 2 episodes from now. But they are currently winning all of the World Axe Throwing League championships. So I'm going to go with them to capture some footage.
I'll have to check that out.
Really fun.
Dude, props to them. That's great.
Yeah, I love that type of stuff. I was just watching on YouTube the 2019 Steel Timber Sports competition. They have like I don't know, I think it's 5 or 6 disciplines that they do. They do springboard, and they have different chainsaw, hot saw competitions and stuff like that. It just looks really fun.
That's cool. Yeah, it's surprising how entertaining a repetitive sport can be.
Yeah, and it's just the thing with the hot saw competition. My daughter and I went years and years ago down to the Paul Bunyan Festival down in Nelsonville, and this guy had taken an engine off of a snowmobile and attached it to a chainsaw. And
Nice.
that thing was awesome. It had they put up a special, like a chain link fence around him because they were afraid that if the chain broke, that it would like impale someone.
Yeah.
So they put this protective barrier up against him, and they get the competition is the contestant holds his hands on the top of the log. They have to pick the chainsaw up and then make, I think, 2 or 3 passes through this log. And he was done in like seconds. It was so awesome.
That's sweet. Yeah, we had Red Bull actually come into our facility a little while back, like right before everything got locked down.
Uh-huh.
And they had a guy standing on a log in the center of the space, and he was chopping down into it below him.
Oh, the undercut, yeah. That is. They typically they wear chainmail, so they don't, if they do stuff, it doesn't cut their. I mean, if they'll cut their leg. I mean, I can remember I used chainsaws all of my life, and I can remember my father first teaching me about it and stuff like that. He's like, you feel how hard this wood is. Your arm is a whole lot softer than that. So it's going through it like it's nothing with wood. You keep your hands out of the way. And in the same way with the axe and stuff like that, they're extremely sharp. They have really, really nice axes for those companies too.
That's really cool. Yeah, we basically use clubs for urban axe throwing around here. We let our axes really go, but
yeah, they're really high end stuff. They extremely sharp, and if you ever watch one of the competitions, they keep them in a case all the time. It's like they're razor sharp always.
Very cool. Zay Crypto, you have any comments about axe throwing?
I was actually a lot better at throwing axes than I thought I would be. I would like to go back sometime, but
when you came to my grad party?
I think it was the grad party.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. I think that's the only that's like the second time I've ever thrown axes. So it's pretty cool.
Quick shout out to Dueling Axes.
I'm actually pretty jealous of where you work, Corey. Sounds like it's a great place.
Oh, I love working there. Yeah, I mean, I'm laid off for now, but I would not ask for another job right now. Huh?
It's a great atmosphere.
Yeah, it's wonderful. The energy is great.
Yeah, and you have like a 2-drink limit. I mean, you have a bar there.
Actually, we do not have a bar. We're just BYOB.
Okay.
But we do not allow liquor, and we do not have a drink limit, although that might be smart. But
I cannot believe you even allow alcohol in the building. Like,
it's our business model, man. It works.
Well, I was going with my brother-in-laws, and we'd have, I didn't drink that time, but I can see where, you have a couple beers and throw some axes and have a great night,
Yeah.
But I can see why they would want to have a two drink maximum. I mean, you don't want somebody to get, I don't know, overconfident with the axe.
We've had some groups actually come in and buy the whole facility, and they'll bring their own bartender, and then they'll impose their own drink limit on themselves.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, that's the extent of it, though. Usually we'll have groups of 6 people or so bring like 64 beers, and they're all gone by the end of the night. So it's pretty crazy.
Well, an axe is still, I mean, it's designed to cause damage, so you have to be smart about it.
Yep. We've had a couple people just walk up and start chopping at support wood for the lanes, which is not the wood that you're supposed to be chopping at.
What?
Right.
So
Why?
That's pleasant. Because they were drunk and out of it, and probably
they were just
already stupid beforehand.
So they're just like, oh, let me chop this.
Yep. Like, oh, what does this do?
My God.
Yep, it's wonderful.
That's gotta be a little scary when that sort of stuff happens.
It's more annoying, actually.
I know, but like, you never truly know someone. What if one of those people is a undercover axe murderer?
I think undercover might be redundant. An axe murderer.
You seem like you have a lot of worries.
Oh yeah, of course. So worrisome world to live in.
Yeah.
But like, okay, there's got to be some Venn diagram where like alcohol plus axe and they're just like it's axe murder in this small sliver.
I think it's a very small overlap, but it's there.
Yeah, you gotta have the big axes in the back for when things get real.
So I have one more pretty broad topic that I'd like to go over with you, Will. That I think all of us can speak on a little bit. Each one of us has been to Europe in some way or fashion, and I wanted to ask about your European travel experience.
Oh, it was awesome. The country that I liked the most was Switzerland.
I love Switzerland.
Switzerland.
I got deported from Switzerland.
Yes, you
deported? Did. How can you get deported from Switzerland?
They're neutral.
I overstayed my welcome in Europe, and yeah, I guess the visa was 3 months, and I was there for 6. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, there's a huge contrast between Switzerland and Italy. They're right next door to each other, but when I was in Switzerland for maybe a week, and I went hiking up in the Alps, and I don't think I saw anybody in the military or a police officer or anything like that the entire time I was there.
Oh, Italy's full of military. What's the olive drab? I don't know, but there's so many weapons everywhere.
Yeah, so
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I stepped off the train in Milan. And first of all, it felt like somebody was hitting me in the face with a hairdryer. It was like 104 degrees.
Yeah.
And like every half block, there was a couple guys in fatigues with automatic weapons. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
Yep.
And, it is such a contrast, just what a few hundred miles it will, do as far as the governance is concerned.
Yeah.
But my going back to Switzerland, Switzerland was awesome. We went hiking up in the Alps. We climbed to about 5,400 feet or something like that. And
very nice.
We're looking back down. My wife and I were looking back down on the village we started at. It's a little dinky thing. And as we're looking over this edge, we saw 2 fighter jets fly by. Whoa. And we're looking down on top of the fighter jets. I don't know if anybody's actually done that or not. Seen a fighter jet in flight from the top.
That's nuts.
It was pretty cool. And I was kind of surprised, too, because I thought the same thing, that the Swiss are neutral. But apparently they have enough of the military to have fighter jets. So.
Huh. And where else did you end up going in Europe?
So we went to Germany. We spent a lot of time in Berlin. Berlin was awesome. I have really wondered about the United States and their roads and sidewalks and stuff like that compared to what I saw in Germany. I was like, how do these people keep their roads so smooth and their sidewalks so smooth? Because I don't know have you been to Berlin at all?
I have not been to Berlin.
I only got to visit a small town in the Alps in France near Switzerland for my stay, so I didn't really see anything.
So in Berlin and in Germany, all of the streets and all of the sidewalks are made of these small stones. They're probably 3 inches square, something like that. And they're kind of like, I don't know if they're granite or something like that, but obviously they're a fairly hard stone. But the sidewalks are absolutely smooth, and the streets are made of the same thing, and they're absolutely smooth, and they're permeable. That is, when it rains, they don't need a gutter system or any drainage or anything, because the water just goes through them and into the ground, just like it would be for normal ground. And I thought that was so awesome that they keep everything. Because if you go around, even in Columbus, you walk down the street sometimes, and the sidewalks are so broken up, or have tree roots growing under them, and one is hooved up to where you trip on them. I just was really surprised at the smoothness of all these sidewalks. And I was out early one morning, and I was happened by, and there was a worker out there early in the morning, and he had taken those stones, and he had pulled them up, and he was realigning them. So apparently it's a continual maintenance type thing that they keep everything flat and level, and I suppose if they have enough people doing that they always stay in good condition, because the weather is much harsher there than it is here, and they have such good streets. I also go ahead.
They care more about the beauty of their infrastructure than we care about selling burgers. So
yeah, I was just going. I walked down the street. I walked down Refugee Road to the hardware to the Lowe's, and I was surprised at the number of spent alcohol containers. Everything from beer to wine to wild turkey to you name it is on the side. Is like on the side of the road. People are obviously drinking this as they're driving, and when they're finished, they throw it out along the street. And I was in Latvia several years ago, and I was asking them about that because they did not have litter. There was no litter, period. And I was asking one of the locals there. I was like, "Hey, so what is the deal with no litter? I mean, I live in Columbus, and it's a pretty big city. It's just comparable to Riga. Why is there no litter?" She goes, "Well, we just teach our children that that's wrong. We don't litter. That's."
Wow, what a concept!
I was like, "That's the answer? Seriously? You just teach your kids not to litter?" And I taught my kid not to litter, but apparently maybe everybody doesn't.
Honestly, I don't think so. I was blessed with a good mother. She taught me not to litter, and that's been ingrained into me. But like, I'll even try to pick up trash as I'm walking down the road sometimes. But there's so much of it.
Yeah.
Adam Himmel from Old North, who is on episode 54, if you want to go back and listen to... No, not 54. Sorry, 57, I think. If you want to go back and listen to that one real quick. He is organizing a Little Litter League for Old North. He's going to get the whole community together to clean up Hudson Street.
Oh,
that's
cool.
Awesome.
So that's one little beam of hope in our community is Mr. Adam Himmel. It's wonderful.
Well, I was just thinking the volume of aluminum and glass and stuff like that, it would be worth it to somebody to just go along there and pick it up and make yourself a little bit of money. I don't know how much,
probably.
But, it seemed like there was an awful lot of beer cans.
There's actually can ferries on OSU campus where you can go around to all the frat houses and pick up the natty cans off the front lawns and actually turn them in for money. But apparently people see them wearing ski masks doing that, which I think is pretty funny.
Wearing ski masks?
Yeah. Just kind of for the joke.
Oh, okay.
At least I think. I don't know. Maybe they don't want to be known as a good person. Who knows?
There's nothing wrong with that, people. There's nothing wrong with being a good person.
Just go around and pick up the trash around your community. It's easy. Come on. Just do it.
Yeah.
You'll get a nice day out of it.
Blueprint talks about that on his podcast.
Does he?
Yeah, man. He's like, everyone is like, nobody wants to take responsibility for their community. They're always like, someone else should get that.
Like Blueprint.
Well, I do it around my house. Like, if I see stuff in the street, particularly on trash day or something like that, people will have some trade trash that falls out of their dumpster or something like that, and I'll always pick it up because I just don't like it blowing around, and it really irritates me to see the Kroger bags or something like that stuck up in a tree someplace where it's 15 feet off the ground and you can't even get it down. So I just try to keep my area. I don't go out of my way. I do feel bad. I felt like I should be picking up along Refugee Road, but I just haven't done it.
Yeah, nobody does, so it's okay.
Yeah, but that's the contrast though with Europe is nobody even thinks about littering. They have they put it in the trash receptacle and
wow, that's a beautiful thing.
But it makes a huge difference in the city. I mean, Riga is a beautiful city, and Berlin is a beautiful city, and you don't see the trash and stuff like that, and that made a big difference. Even in Switzerland, I don't think I saw any trash at all. Period. The entire time I was there. Now Italy is a little bit different. I mean, I saw some, but not very much.
Italy
by and large in Europe, they just don't litter.
Yeah, I don't think the mob cares so much about littering.
Yeah.
Hey, who else has watched The Sopranos? Anybody? No, I'm not going to go there. From my experience in Italy and Switzerland, they could not be different. They cannot be more different. I mean, they're pretty wildly different in those ways.
Hmm. Yeah.
In Switzerland, I was able to go to Zurich, as
Oh, yeah.
well as what was the city I went to? Started with an L. Anyway, it was a beautiful place. I remember buying champagne chocolates there and immediately regretting my decision because that was terrible. And then in Germany, the place I was able to go to, I actually got to experience two vastly different places. One was Munich, and the other was Dachau. Actually, I was able to experience the going to that work camp.
Right. Right.
And let me tell you,
Sobering.
it is sobering. And I got so depressed that I fell asleep for 2 hours afterward.
That's
Like
understandable.
I was like, coffeeed up before I was ready to go. I went there, I experienced it, I thought about it while I was there, tried to imagine, everything that had happened in the space that I was currently standing in. And I got back on the bus and I dozed off. It was crazy.
It's emotionally draining for sure.
Yes. And I also think it's an experience that most people should have.
Yeah.
To understand the lengths to which some of humanity has gone to do such horrible things.
Yeah. If you can't go to Auschwitz or to Dachau or someplace like that, go to the Holocaust Museum in Washington D.C. It's also a very sobering experience.
And I've also been to that one as well. So having experienced both is pretty nuts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Have you been to Austria?
Austria, I have not.
Okay. I got the chance to go to Salzburg there, where they filmed The Sound of Music.
Uh-huh.
I thought that was wonderful.
Well, I was on Switzerland on the other side of it.
Okay. I see.
Yeah. But it's
cool.
Not the same, I guess, but it's the same mountains.
Yeah. I have some beautiful photos from there.
Yeah, I was going to mention also in Berlin, another thing that going along with the concentration camps, and in Berlin, they have these little brass plates. They're the size of the stones that are on the sidewalks in the yard, in the streets. On each of these brass plates is the name of one of the victims of the Holocaust, and they put it outside the residence, their former residence. And you'll see them scattered throughout the city, just as a reminder of what happened. And that makes the entire city a little more sobering, just because you see those everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, it's keeps it bears on your mind all day as you're walking around town and you see these things. Unless somebody pointed them out to you, you wouldn't know that they were even there. I mean, you obviously see the brass plates, but you don't know what the reason is. We also got to go right around Checkpoint Charlie, where I don't know if you guys aren't old enough to remember. So you were born after 1989, weren't you? So
yes,
you don't remember the Soviet Union or anything, but that was a big merge where East met West. The Soviets and the United States were on opposite sides of this street, where the line was, and they have most of the Berlin Wall is down, but they have part of it still up, just for a memorial. And we were able to walk around there. I didn't realize this, but there's actually two walls. So there is the outer wall, what you typically would see in the history books, but there is also an inner wall that's 150 meters side of the other wall. And in that area between the two is the kill zone. So if you would go across the first wall toward the second, they had these guard towers posted every few hundred meters, and you would be shot if you tried to cross. That's why nobody was able to get out of the Soviet Union.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah,
So
I didn't.
It wasn't just as simple as hopping a wall.
No.
Yeah.
No,
Damn.
it was not even close. Yeah, it was a big deal.
Kind of like no man's land in World War One. That's nuts.
It was, absolutely.
Huh. Well, I am gathering much historical knowledge today. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I encourage people to travel. I mean, I would have never known. You don't see that written about or anything like that.
Yeah.
A lot of these things you're only going to know if you've traveled there and you've actually seen them.
Zay Crypto, what did you learn from traveling to France?
I learned that America is not as great as I thought it was. I guess.
Yeah.
Like, I still am grateful to live in America, but it made me realize that to a certain degree there's better ways of living, which might sound stupid, but you know what really shocked me? I can't speak for the rest of Europe, but I can speak to the part of France I was in. Is just how friendly everybody was, and I'm sure that's partially because I was out in the country. I wasn't like in a big city or anything, but the town I was staying at had probably 2,000 like full year round like locals, and everybody was just friendly. Like even strangers, you'd just be walking down the street, you see a stranger, and you catch eyes, both of you like smile and wave to each other. And like
I've actually heard the opposite.
Really,
I think that's it's only in Paris and larger cities where they're messy.
Okay.
That's been, my daughter went there and that was her experience.
I see.
It's the thing is, French people feel that you must try to speak French, and I think that in America we would feel the same way too, right? I mean, you would expect people to at least try to speak English. You know, if somebody was can hear speaking German or something like that, you would like to think that they would try to speak English a little bit, and then you'd kind of help them out. And I think it's the same way that the French are doing. My wife speaks French, and she goes over there. She doesn't have too much of a problem, but you don't try to speak French, they're very snooty.
Yeah.
I took French for 9 years. I remember oui.
Yeah,
when I started to learn a bit when I was there, and I got to a point where I could tell a local Frenchman that I spoke French like an infant, and
but not a woman.
No. Yeah, I was like, what was it? Je parle français comme un enfant. I think that's how you say it.
That would be correct. Yes.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. So, I didn't learn much French, but yeah, it's a really, really cool experience.
So did you feel that you learned more French because you were there, or were you hanging around people that spoke English?
I was only hanging around people that spoke English. The only reason I learned French is because I actually took it upon myself to try to practice every day. There's this website called Duolingo.
Oh yeah, I use that.
Yeah, yeah. Duolingo really helped me in the 6 months I was there.
And it threatens you if you don't stay up on your your daily task.
Right.
Yeah, that's cool. I did not end up being able to speak any French while I was there. Part of the trip that I went on, we stayed in this small countryside town for a little bit. And they actually had a music festival going on while we were there, and that was pretty cool. So I got to see that a little bit. But outside of that, the point of the trip was to go around and it was called American Music Abroad. We did a tour of 5 different countries where we played in a symphonic band, and I played trombone. I still do, actually. I got it out again recently. So maybe you'll hear some trombone on the podcast. Haha.
Yeah. Dude, that would be great, actually.
I'll try and make a new theme song with the trombone. But we got to go around and play for locals, and apparently AMA is looked forward to fervently by the locals of each of the countries every single year. So it was beautiful to go around and be part of this, where European locals would come and, really enjoy themselves while we were playing symphonic music. So that was really fun. We got to do that in France.
That reminds me of something about Russians. So, I don't know if you guys know this either, but the Soviet Union included a lot of countries that are not part of it anymore. So, like Ukraine and Kazakhstan.
And
Tajikistan and Uzbekistan. So a lot of people that are from those countries that are my age, I'm 50 years old, so in 1989, people that were in the Soviet Union then, and people that were in these, the Ukrainians, for instance, even if they can speak Russian, they won't speak Russian. So if I'll say if we go to somebody and they'll answer me нет. I'll say, how are you speaking Russian? And they'll say no, in Russian. So yes, they do, but no, they won't. So it's I didn't understand this at first, and when I was first started learning Russian, but they, for the most part, did not care for the Russians that annexed them to form the Soviet Union. In Poland and Ukraine and countries, they were basically forced to join the Soviet Union, and most people did not care for that. So it's kind of like their schooling and everything that they had growing up. Obviously, they can speak Russian very well and just as good as that's their first language. But many people, even in Columbus today, that are Ukrainian, for instance, really prefer not to speak Russian, even if they can. They'll speak Ukrainian, and the languages are similar, but they are different.
That's wild. Yeah, actually, my paternal grandfather, he lived in Ukraine for 14 years, I believe.
Oh.
And he went there to start a glass factory, and he's now back here since a while ago. But I need to ask him about that experience, because that's an interesting concept. Can you say, Crypto, isn't that funny that Americans love English even though of who we were colonized by? Like, I know it's different, but
yeah,
that's funny. Also, one thing about Russia and all the countries that used to be part of the Soviet Union, their brass instruments are wonderful. And if you've never heard the Kyrgyzstani national anthem, I urge you to go listen, because it slaps. So
it's kind of wild, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's yeah. I think I thought I saw a video about that at one point, and it was really out there.
I'm a huge fan of Russian brass music. I played a lot of it in high school for solo and ensembles and such. So I think that is one huge cultural thing to come out of that place. Composers such as Victor Ewald and such.
Mm-hmm, right.
It's beautiful. So I won't go into more into that because that's very nerdy and no one in the audience knows about it. But hey, Columbus brass composers that are Russian influenced, please come reach out. Come be on the show.
It's a very specific segment.
Yes, it is. I'm sure they're there, but we'll see. I'll try and find somebody. Also, any jazz acts that play by reading sheet music, please reach out to me. I want to join you. That's just not really relevant to anything, but I've been thinking about it recently, and I really want to do that. Anyway, we are hitting about an hour and 17 minutes or so.
And we're getting long-winded.
Yeah. Where can people find your work and support you?
Yeah, so my books are available in ebook format and in paperback on Amazon. You can look at my author page at www.amazon.com/author/Will Blaine. It's WILLBLAINE. And you can get them there. I also just finished my audio recording. I'm going to put it on Audible, iTunes, and on Amazon, so you
Awesome.
can hear the ebook, the audio version of the stories.
Nice. And we got a little demo of that today.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. I've got lots of stories, so I'll run those down here in a little bit. But if everybody could follow me on Instagram, I just started my new Instagram account. It's A Curious Mind of Will at Instagram. So
I'm pretty sure I'm following it already.
all right,
Curious
awesome.
Head of the
Mind
game.
Curious Mind of Will at Instagram. Yeah, I'll post your guys' podcasts and stuff up there for that. And I'm also, you can look for me on Facebook too. I'm on Facebook as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, I really love to hear people's feedback, what they think of the stories and stuff like that. It's again, this is not great literature, guys. This is just fun, and just keep that in mind. It's just really fun stories.
It rivals Plato's Republic.
Well, that's high praise, certainly. But yeah, these are just short, fun stories.
Cool.
Easy reads.
Do you have any last-minute shout-outs to make before we wrap up?
Yeah, I'll run down some of the stories that I already have written, and some that I'm working on. I read you guys The Brat with a Bat. That's already completely written, obviously, but it's not in publication yet. But I'm going to work on that. The So Long Spoon. It's a story about things that kids do with their mother's silverware, like the flatware. I'm sure that you guys probably, when you're in your younger years, have gone and taken a spoon outside and dug in the ground with it. Stuff like that. The Lice in My Pillows. It's about a lice infestation. I think that's everybody's worst fear is have their children come home with lice. Splashing in Puddles is kind of like a working title, but kids that feel compelled to splash in the mud puddles whenever they see one. I think most kids do that. The next one is called Wee Wally, WEE Wally. So this is something you guys can relate to, I'm sure. So when you guys were potty training, I don't know if you remember back that far, your parents probably taught you to pee on different things as a incentive to go, right?
Honestly, I have no idea. I'd have to ask my mom.
I have no recollection.
You have to think long and hard about this, but I think every man has at one point peed on a wall or peed on a tree or peed on a bush, peed on something. So this is a story about a little boy that is doing just that and takes it to the extreme.
Oh yeah, I did pee on the bathroom wall when I was like 4 years. Actually, I think it was my birthday party. It was like my 5th birthday party. My friends were daring me to pee on the bathroom wall, so I did.
That's something boys do, and every male that I have talked to has had some type of story about that. One of my coworkers took his nephew to Disneyland, and his mom was with him, and he's like, "Mom, I gotta go," and she's like, "Okay." He took it as okay, like go ahead, not okay. I'm going to take care of this. So he just unzipped himself and was down the middle of the Broadway inside of the big castle, you know. So, it's kids do that kind of stuff. Boys will do that, absolutely.
My friend Mike pissed on my car when he was 18 years old.
That's one of the incidents in the story. One of the incidents in the story. So we'll get that for publication soon.
Perfect.
We got one. It's called Dee Dee's Dentist, about trips to the dentist. I think that's something that most kids are fearful of, and that's got a nice little moral to it. And The Glorious Gizzard of Roz. That's a story that was inspired by my sister. She got chickens for the first time, and they were little tiny balls of fluff, and I wrote a story about that. So yeah, those are some of the stories that I've got. Got plenty more aside from that, but those are the ones that are completely finished already. So
awesome.
Got that coming up, and the next one that's coming up is Sticky Fingers from Jan.
Nice.
I'm working on the cover art for that, and once I get that going, we'll submit it for publication. It's already written and everything. It's
Very
a
cool.
pretty fun story.
I cannot wait for them to come out.
Yeah, we'll look for them. I'll probably put them out in paperback, then do the ebook and the audio.
Perfect.
That should be coming up in the next month or so.
All right. I think that about covers everything. I want to say thank you for coming on this week. It's been a great interview. I enjoyed having you on.
Yeah, you guys have been awesome. I really enjoyed myself.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Pedestrians, we release every Wednesday morning at 6 a.m. You already know that. If you missed it...
I think I lost you.
Oh,
yeah, you just cut out for me.
Oh, that's
But
weird.
They could
I probably got
hear
it
you.
on my end.
Yeah.
We got it over here.
Yep.
We're actually, as you have heard, we are syndicated on 2 different radio stations now. Redline Radio LLC in Cleveland and Cuyahoga Valley Radio Network. You can hear us on Cuyahoga Valley Radio Network every Monday at 2 p.m., and you can hear us on Red Line every Saturday at 11 a.m. So if you missed it on Wednesday, you can catch us then. And thank you for listening this week. We'll catch you next week. And thank you very much.
Stay safe, y'all.